Reputation, the highly awaited sixth studio album by Taylor Swift that was arguably the most anticipated release of 2017. Hey guys, it's Brooke. I know that this album came out a few months ago, but as a major Taylor Swift fan, I have taken my time to kind of collect all of my thoughts on everything, and I'm going to share those thoughts with you today. Kind of a review style. I actually wrote this more as like an article type thing, but this is more so me reading, speaking the way I wrote it, so it's more like a presentation than just straight out talking. It is kind of a scripted video since I spent a long time like writing out what I was gonna say. So yeah. Taylor Swift has never been sheltered from media attention and criticism. She is an 11-year veteran of the world of mainstream country and pop music who came into the light at the birth of the social media breakout and formation of the fandom culture. So Taylor has had a reputation since she was 16 years old. Taylor's been called both America's sweetheart and the Regina George of the music scene, and people usually see her as one or the other. Now, being 28, the winner of 11 Grammy Awards and one of the most well-known people in the world, Taylor has a bigger reputation than ever before. As I'm sure you know, whether you like her or not, her relationships have always been the center of attention and the focal point of criticism towards her music and personality. In the last 11 years, she's dated a Jonas Brother, a heartthrob of the Twilight series, a member of One Direction, a Kennedy, a Marvel villain, and more. Since the release of 1989 and 2014, her mother has been diagnosed with cancer. She's been in 2 high-profile public relationships with men several years her senior. She's ghostwritten hit songs for one of those men, formed her famous Girl Squad, been at odds with fellow pop queen Katy Perry, has been accused with being in a relationship with her model best friend Karlie Kloss. She has cut and mended ties with Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, and other streaming services, and she has reignited her most infamous celebrity feud with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian West. She's won a sexual assault case, she's done a best-selling single for the 50 Shades of Grey movie franchise, which she happened to do with one of her most famous ex's estranged former bandmate, and then she went completely off the map for nearly a whole year at the height of all of this. In 2016, she was unwillingly the star of Kanye West's most controversial song, Famous. West infamously places himself next to a wax nude look-alike figure of Taylor in bed while he delivers these lines.
My Southside niggas that know me best, I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. Why? I made that bitch famous. God damn! I made that bitch famous.
These lyrics were immediately red flagged by the public and by Swift herself. Kim Kardashian West immediately came to her husband's defense by posting video footage on her Snapchat of West calling Swift to inform her of the lyrics and receiving her approval of the use of her name in the song. Taylor took to Twitter to defend herself, saying she had never approved of Kanye calling her that B, as she thought it was derogatory to women. So took offense to Kanye taking credit for her decade of musical accomplishments. Taylor was immediately swamped with hate and accusations that she was playing the victim and trying to gain attention from the public, and people spamming her Instagram and other social medias with the green snake emoji. It's become a nickname and a symbol for her since. Chart-shattering first single for this album, Look What You Made Me Do, Taylor makes possibly the boldest lyrical statement of her entire career, which I'm sure you've heard whether you're a fan of her or not. I'm sorry, but the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, because she's dead. The music video for this song was released the next week at the Video Music Awards, the same awards show where her dispute with Kanye began 8 years before. In this video, she claims and embraces her snake image. She presents all of the old Taylors bowing down to the new Taylor who is decked out in Reputation apparel. I will not even begin to discuss all of the symbols of her media image in the video. That could be a video all on its own, and that video has been done by so many people, but it was evident that she was coming for blood and was bound to rewrite her reputation. Preceding the release of the album announcement, Taylor purged her social media from all prior posts, basing all of the old Taylor's opinion on things. She stopped posting personal things and focused only on promoting the release of Reputation. Honestly, after hearing Look What You Made Me Do, I feared that Taylor was selling out to modern trap-influenced styles of music and was going to dumb down her writing to gain even more mainstream success. I reassured myself by reminding myself that the first single she releases is always my least favorite off the album. She released 3 more songs prior to the album release. With each one, more speculations were made that she was dating British actor Joe Alwyn, who she had been linked to since late 2016, but there was no proof of her being in a relationship with. Listening party for Reputation that only the biggest Swifties were invited to, Taylor confirmed that Gorgeous, the 3rd promotional single, was without a doubt about her amazing boyfriend of a year, Joe Alwyn. She confirmed their relationship further with the 4th promotional single, Call It What You Want, coming out just 2 days before Reputation. Going into the project, you know this. Taylor is now the center of media criticism and attention more than ever. She went off the map for nearly an entire year, broke her pattern of releasing an album in the fall every 2 years. She is pissed at Kanye West, and surprise, she's dating Joe Alwyn. Oh, and by the way, the old Taylor is dead. Before I begin, I am going to read the preface or introduction letter to the album that Taylor wrote in the liner notes, as I feel it gives her perspective. It is beautifully written to open the album in all of its glory. Here's something I've learned about people. We think we know someone, but the truth is that we only know the version of them they have chosen to show us. We know our friend in a certain light, but we don't know them the way their lover does. Just the way their lover will never know them the same way that you do as their friend. Their mother knows them differently than their roommate, who knows them differently than their colleague. Their secret admirer looks at them and sees an elaborate sunset of brilliant color and a dimension in spirit and pricelessness. And yet, a stranger will pass that same person and see a faceless member of the crowd, nothing more. We may hear rumors about a person and believe those things to be true. We may one day meet that person and feel foolish for believing all the baseless gossip. This is the first generation that will be able to look back on their entire life story, documented in pictures on the internet, and together we will all discover the after effects of that. Ultimately, we post photos online to curate what strangers think of us. But then we wake up, look in the mirror at our faces, see the cracks and scars and blemishes, and cringe. We hope someday we meet someone who will see the same morning face and instead see their future, their partner, their forever. Someone who will still choose us even when they see all sides of the story, all the angles of the kaleidoscope that is you. Point being, despite our need to simplify and generalize absolutely everyone and everything in this life, humans are intrinsically impossible to simplify. We are never just good or bad. We are mosaics of our worst selves and our best selves, our deepest secrets and our favorite stories to tell at a dinner party, existing somewhere between our well-lit profile photo and our driver's license shot. We are all a mixture of selfishness and generosity, loyalty and self-preservation, pragmatism and impulsiveness. I've been in the public eye since I was 15 years old. On the beautiful, lovely side of that, I've been so lucky to make music for a living and look into crowds of loving, vibrant people. On the other side of the coin, my mistakes have been used against me, my heartbreaks have been used as entertainment, and my songwriting has been trivialized as oversharing. When this album comes out, gossip blogs will scour all the lyrics for the men they can attribute to each song, as if the inspiration for music is as simple and basic as a paternity test. There will be a slideshow of photos backing up each incorrect theory because it's 17, and if you didn't see a picture of it, it couldn't have happened, right? Let me say it again, louder for those in the back. We think we know someone, but the truth is that we only know the version of them they have chosen to show us. There will be no further explanation. There will just be reputation.
Knew he was a killer, first time that I saw him. Wonder how many girls he had loved and left haunted. But if he's a ghost, then I can be a phantom, holding him for ransom.
Taylor clears her throat before she quite literally spits fire to open this album. The heavy voltage music immediately sets the scene for something intense. The 3 bass drops that open the track are representations of the ellipses in the title, giving you a brief second to get ready for it. I will admit, I did not like this song when it first came out. At first, I too laughed at Taylor practically rapping the verses. I asked if this was the sequel to Thug Story, the parody rap track she did with T-Pain in 2008.
8'4", blonde hair to the floor. You shorties never thought I dreamed about rapping hardcore.
However, it grew on me, and it is not as mindless as it appears to be on the surface. It is a great introduction to the punch this album packs, and a great introduction to the crazy world for her new lover. It poses the simple question to both Joe Alwyn and to listeners of this album: Are you ready for it? She introduces her new lover as a killer and refers to herself as a robber, both criminal terms addressing the public's view of her and her infatuation with love interests and destruction of them after the relationship is over. She states, "But if he's a ghost then, I can be a phantom holding him for ransom," mocking her crazy image of immortalizing men in her music. Her referring to Alwyn as a ghost also shows that the relationship was a secret for so long. She warns Joe Alwyn, if you touch her, you'll never be alone because the media will be all over you, but then proceeds to set up a secluded island scene for them to hide away in, saying no one has to know. Opening the second verse, she almost taunts listeners by saying Alwyn knew she was a robber going into the relationship, disputing claims that men are blindly led into Black Widow relationships with her. Alwyn knew all about her reputation when he started seeing her. She then concludes, "But if I'm a thief then, he can join the heist and we'll move to an island." Neither of them are perfect, and she's certainly not a victim, in case you were wondering. She refers to Alwyn as her jailer, implying that he keeps her inner heartbreaker self under control and levels her out more, a theme she returns to many times in the album. She then makes the famous reference, "He can be my jailer, Burton to this Taylor," referencing Hollywood legend Elizabeth Taylor and her lover Richard Burton, who was one of her 7 husbands and the true love of her life. Elizabeth Taylor was also known for going through many relationships. She claims that Joe Alwyn is the love of her life, as Richard Burton was to Elizabeth Taylor, that every love she has ever known is a failure compared to her relationship with Alwyn, and that she won't even bother to remember their names because she is so very tame now. She closes by making the remark, "Let the games begin," as she places her new album into the hands of the people who have given her the reputation she has today.
And I bury hatchets, but I keep maps of where I put 'em. Reputation precedes me. They told you I'm crazy. I swear I don't love the drama. It loves me.
When I heard Endgame, I was so happy that this was the sole collaboration track on the album and that it did not feature a member of Migos, proving that she had not completely sold out to modern pop trends, even though she was experimenting with them. Featuring Future on this track gave the song a light, radio-friendly vibe and added diversity to her library that she has never had before. And featuring longtime friend Ed Sheeran made it feel more at home on the album and reminded us that this is still Taylor Swift we're listening to. She starts by stating she wants to be Joe Alwyn's endgame, a modern term meaning the person someone ends up with for life. With the catchy hook, she imagines in the early stages what people would say if they knew she was with Joe Alwyn. Future's verse brings the interesting line that he has a reputation that doesn't precede him, possibly because he's a man and has a likable bad boy image. Ed's verse talks about his own personal life and his relationship with Cherry Seaborn, who he dated as a teenager and has now returned to. In his 2017 release Divide, he states that she's the one he wants to be with forever, aka his endgame. He claims that his reputation does precede him, most likely because he tends to wear his heart on his sleeve more in the music industry. He also discusses the anxiety-filled beginning stages of letting someone into your world, especially when you're famous. He discusses what it's like for the significant other of a musician to understand that the good and bad end up in a song. He states that he, as well as Taylor in this case, have made questionable choices, but that his lover brings out the best in him and causes him to be reborn. He finally addresses her preceding reputation, as the other two already have, as well as her psycho girlfriend image, and says, "Reputation precedes me. They told you I'm crazy. I swear I don't love the drama. It loves me." Once again, defending herself by saying that she's a magnet for drama and that the media casts her into these situations. She then suggests the reason that she loves Joe Alwyn so much is because he sees right through her and actually got to know her instead of just believing the person the media paints her to be, or even the person she paints herself to be sometimes. She admits that she's not totally innocent. Joe loves her anyway, and now she's starting over with him. Taylor states that just because she's rebuilding her reputation, she isn't fake. When Look What You Made Me Do came out, a viral post went around talking about throwing your NARS red Dragon Girl lipstick in the trash can, referring to her red lip classic thing that's been a staple for her for years. But this Taylor is telling you the truth straight from her signature red lips. This states that some things have changed about her, but she is still the Taylor you know and love. Or hate. Taylor says this relationship is it for her, and you find yourself rooting for it to be.
If a man talks shit, then I owe him nothing. I don't regret it one bit, cause he had it coming.
Taylor takes no prisoners, as she blatantly says she does not regret getting back at people who have done her wrong, and that she shouldn't be given slack for defending herself, especially to men trying to take advantage of her. This could be referencing a number of situations, including Kanye West in the sexual assault case she just won. She's been blamed for turning Kanye fans against him and for ruining the radio host who assaulted her's career. She admits she's not as innocent as people think she tries to make herself appear when it comes to relationships. She insists that she never trusts a narcissist or a playboy, answering people's questions as to why she keeps falling for the wrong people. She admits she can see a fake from a mile away, and sometimes she has fun with it. People have mistaken her for many things, but stupid shouldn't be one of them. She states in Look What You Made Me Do that she is indeed a fan of karma, and in the past she has taken it upon herself to inflict revenge upon these narcissists and playboys she attracts. She admits that she has blood on her hands, or on her lips, in these situations. But just because of this, if a man disrespects her, she doesn't automatically owe him anything, including an apology. Her reputation has suffered enough through her mistakes, and even if the world isn't on her side right now, those men are allowed to treat her the way they did, and one day they'll get theirs. She then says, "They're burning all the witches, even if you aren't one of the most powerful lyrics on the album. In a clever use of alliteration, she lists the evidence that the public has against her. They got their pitchforks and proof, their receipts and reasons. Then proudly proclaims once again, "They're burning the witches, even if you aren't one, so light me up, go ahead and light me up." She says that if she's a witch for defending herself in these situations, then go ahead and burn her, because she's holding her ground of how you can and cannot treat her, and girl, I am all for it.
Don't blame me, love made me crazy. If it doesn't, you ain't doing it right. Lord save me, my drug is my baby, I'd be using for the rest of my life.
Going along with the theme of the first three songs, she addresses her reputation, this time for being a crazy, obsessed, psycho girlfriend. She discusses her experience with love, making her into who she is today, both in the media and in her own life. She compares her obsession to dating people to being a drug addict. Love is beautiful to start and maddening to lose in the sense that actual drugs are. Everyone has their vice. Instead of singing about drinking, drugs, money, sex, and weed in previous years, the main focus of her songs have been relationships. In the first verse, she says, "I've been breaking hearts a long time. I've been toying with them older guys, just playthings for me to use." Once again saying that she's been playing the game for a long time and knows what she's doing. She admits again to oftentimes using this to her advantage, using older men in relationships to satisfy her need to be in a relationship. She mimics withdrawal symptoms of an addict. She then addresses the present, her relationship with Joe Alwyn. Next, she suggests that the high she gets from Joe Alwyn makes her into a better person. She declares that her name is whatever you decide, surrendering that she doesn't care what the public calls her, and saying that the press feels they can call her whatever they want depending on who she's dating. She then says she's just going to define herself by the fact that Joe loves her. Maybe she's crazy, maybe she's not, but Joe loves her regardless anyways. She then reveals her crazy girlfriend side even more with the line, "Echoes of your name inside my mind, halo hiding my obsession." She's saying that her clean public image, or at least her previous clean public image, protects her from being seen as an obsessed girlfriend to some people and even more like one to other people. She then once again confirms that Joe brings out the best in her by saying, "I once was poison ivy, but now I'm your daisy." This line could mean many things, but I came up with a kind of a cool analogy for it that I really love. Poison ivy is a DC Comics supervillain and obviously a poisonous plant. Daisy Buchanan is the dazzling female lead of F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby, something Taylor is a fan of and references later in the album. Daisy is reunited with her first love, Jay Gatsby, in the book, causing rifts between Daisy and her husband Tom Buchanan. This is an interesting parallel because Taylor seems to reference later on that she left her boyfriend Tom Hiddleston for Joe Alwyn. Interesting enough, both people in this supposed role are named Tom. Tom Buchanan was also not completely faithful to his partner, as Taylor may imply was the case with Hiddleston in Gorgeous. In a more literal sense, a daisy is a harmless sweet flower. She's implying that Joe turned her from a villain into a beloved heroine with a twist, or from a rough poisonous plant to a sweet flower. The public tends to paint Taylor as having once been the daisy and now being the poison ivy. I also find this line interesting because it seems to be the reverse of the line from 2014's Blank Space, "But you'll come back each time you leave, 'cause darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream." Blank Space was an obvious mockery of her media image. In Blank Space, she says she's a nightmare disguised as something innocent. And don't blame me, she now says she's innocent and portrayed as toxic. She then admits that she'd give up her good girl image if it meant getting to keep Alwyn. She may be tough and know what she's doing, but she's not too proud to beg Alwyn to stay with her in true crazy girlfriend fashion, because he means so much to her. And he can't blame her, right?
Is it cool that I said all that? Is it chill that you're in my head? 'Cause I know that it's delicate.
Delicate is probably my favorite song on the record. All the anxiety that goes into the beginning stages of a relationship or into liking someone and not wanting to come off too strong are captured here. She's been through enough relationships to know that it's not rational to experience these strong feelings so early on. So she's not making any promises or commitments this early. She's simply enjoying Joe Alwyn's company and longing for the point when it's acceptable to express that she has all these feelings harboring inside her. But for now, it's delicate and she knows it. She makes the heart-pulling discovery with the line, "My reputation's never been worse, so you must like me for me." She's catching the vibe early on that he sees her beyond what the press says about her and is actually trying to get to know her, but it's still too early to show how much she adores him for this. This line could also be a love note and a testament to fans who are still coming back for more after her 6th studio album, because when her reputation's never been worse, her fans still like her for her. She makes plans to meet Alwyn in the back of a dark dive bar, a secluded, less glamorous location where they wouldn't be expected to be seen. She is then, once again, infatuated with his looks, including his blue eyes. She asks, "Is it cool that I said all that? Is it chill that you're in my head? 'Cause I know that it's delicate." Looking for reassurance that it's okay to feel this way, and that she isn't going to scare him off, since people have told her she's the crazy girlfriend type. In the second verse, she follows the pattern of the first by setting up a secluded place for them to meet. Once again, she compliments him with one of my favorite lines and descriptions of Joe Alwyn in the whole album: "Handsome, you're a mansion with a view." She compares him and their relationship to something glamorous and luxurious, even in its secretive simplicity. She then gains a bout of confidence, asking, "Do the girls back home touch you like I do?" She compares herself to the girls back in England, where Joe Alwyn is from, almost in a way of trying to persuade him to stay with her. She continues describing a night spent with him before pleading, "Stay here, honey, I don't want to share." She then immediately asks once again if it's okay for her to be this way so early. The narrative then is directed towards the wandering thoughts of anyone who likes someone. I can just picture Taylor looking at Joe while he's sleeping in a secluded dark room somewhere with the city lights shining on him and her writing these lines. And I doubt there's a single person with a crush on someone who can't relate to this song.
I'm sorry, the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, 'cause she's dead.
Look what we made her do. Look what the press made her do. Look what Kanye made her do. Look what Joe Alwyn made her do. She opens by bluntly stating that she does not like Kanye West. She doesn't like his games. She doesn't like his signature tilted stage. Most of all, she doesn't like how he made her look stupid when he was the one who had done her wrong. This first verse reminds me of the feelings you have when you just truly do not like someone, and everything they do annoys you. Then she states that she's gotten smarter and harder in time, both of these things which she makes very clear on the album. She's not a teenage girl easily led astray anymore. Starts the repetitive, oh so catchy chorus. It's not exactly clear to a first-time listener of this song what she's actually done or what anyone has made her do. However, she continues listing things she doesn't like about someone who's done her wrong. There are speculations that she's referring to Katy Perry this time. However, with other things she says on the album, she still could be talking about Kanye West and Kim Kardashian West. She then states that the world moves on whether she moves with it or not. She says she no longer focuses on drama and that she leaves it to karma to take care of those who have wronged her. She knows that she suffered the consequences of her past mistakes, but Kanye, Kim, and whoever else has wronged her will too. She states that after all she's been through with Kanye and her heartbreaker image, that she doesn't trust anyone and that no one trusts her. She states that she'll be the actress starring in Your Bad Dream. This line is truly genius, as she casts herself as the star the press goes to when they need a signature villain for a cheap tabloid story. I love her use of the term actress, implying that She actually isn't guilty of many of these things. Look what you made her do. Now she doesn't trust anyone and no one trusts her. She then makes the legendary statement, just in case you were looking for the heartbroken Taylor to be blaming all her exes on this new album, you have shown up a bit too late because that girl is gone. I think Taylor's use of the analogy of killing off the old Taylor is interesting, considering the time and setting this song came out in. You may be making more pop-friendly music, but Taylor is kind of a genius. She's an artist, and she's only gotten smarter in time. When this song came out, Taylor was 27 years old. She's one of the richest people in the world. She's the only woman to have ever won the Grammy for Album of the Year twice. She's a defining character of the last decade. Long story short, she's a living legend, and whether you like her or not, you can't deny her living legend status that she's built for herself in the last decade. If you have knowledge of music history, you've probably heard the term the 27 Club. The 27 Club is a group of legendary musicians of the 20th and 21st century who met untimely deaths at the peaks of their careers. Members of this club include iconic Doors frontman Jim Morrison, San Francisco 60s rock and roll queen and Woodstock legend Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, perhaps the most talented guitarist of all time, the man who pioneered the Seattle grunge scene, defined music in the 90s, and committed one of the most well-known and controversial suicides of all time, Kurt Cobain, and most recently, Amy Winehouse, the late queen of modern soul, rhythm, and blues. What a tragic but fitting addition Taylor could have been to this club if she had let the press and her reputation get to her. Had she immersed herself in drugs or some other fatal indulgence, she could just as easily be in that lineup. But instead, at 27 years old, that girl is in the 27 Club, and the new Taylor is thriving.
And all the pieces fall right into place. Getting caught up in a moment. Lipstick on your face, so it goes.
While being a more filler track, Taylor is in control, and so it goes. She defines herself, her love life, her sexuality, her reputation. She is who she is, whether you like it or not, and she's fully aware. She feels herself slipping into this new love. She feels her good girl image fading as she matures and discusses being in a grown-up relationship more than ever, and she's okay with it. So it goes. She says that the world would try to make their relationship complicated, and it is complicated when she thinks about people finding out, but when she's actually with Joe Alwyn, everything is simple. She sings and all the pieces fall right into place carelessly, but in full control of what's happening in her life. This line is also a play on media claims that anyone Taylor dates is unknowingly a part of her master plan. She admits, you know, I'm not a bad girl, but I do bad things with you. She's not a bad girl, but she's taking down her teenage girl image pretty fast on this album, but not in a vulgar or aggressive way. She wants to clarify that although she's made mistakes, she's still all around the good girl she's presented herself as. However, she is a 27-year-old / 28-year-old woman, and she will not be slut-shamed for enjoying time with her boyfriend. She's in control. She knows that she will no longer probably be seen as totally innocent after this, but she's okay with that. So it goes. She then says to Alwyn, "You did a number on me, but baby, who's counting?" She is not or is no longer keeping score to play the victim or blame the man. Taylor then reverses the role by saying, "I did a number on you, but honestly, baby, who's counting?" Their relationship is mutual. She then proceeds to count off 1, 2, 3 before delivering the chorus again. So it goes. Her bad reputation, her squeaky clean image, the news of her dating Joe Alwyn, and she's at the reins of all of it.
Looking in mine, I feel like I might sink and drown and die.
Gorgeous, another one of my top favorites on the entire album, embodies what it feels like to be totally obsessed with someone, especially someone you can't have. The song opens with a child's voice saying "gorgeous," symbolizing the childish way in which she admires Joe Alwyn. She takes her reputation of still writing like a 16-year-old girl in her late 20s and makes it her own. She opens by saying he should take it as a compliment that she got drunk and made fun of his British accent. She says he should know there are consequences of his magnetic field being so strong. Basically, he's frustratingly attractive. She then reveals she has an older boyfriend, presumably Tom Hiddleston. She says he's in the club doing I don't know what. This hints at potential infidelity on both sides, considering she's checking out another man in this song. Whatever Hiddleston is doing, Taylor isn't interested. She makes several gushing statements implying her sudden obsession with Alwyn. She says that he's ruined her life by not being hers. She expresses her irritation with him for being so darn gorgeous, especially when she can't have him. She ignores him on purpose, trying to gain his attention. She tells him he should think about the consequence of touching her hand in a darkened room, once again informing him of the media's presence in her relationships. She favors a girl almost being petty to get attention, but she knows it. She doesn't know if he has a girlfriend, but if he does, she's jealous of her. Also happens to be in a relationship too. She delivers my favorite lines of the song, and arguably the most relatable lines in the song. You make me so happy it turns back to sad. There's nothing I hate more than what I can't have. You are so gorgeous it makes me so mad. She then acts like she's going to give up and stumble on home to her cats, then temptingly suggests, unless you want to come along.
We would chase it, Bonnie and Clyde, until I switched to the other side, to the other side. It's no surprise I turned you in, 'cause us traitors never win.
Getaway Car. This song is the voted fan favorite. Taylor reminisces on a previous love who I speculate to be Tom Hiddleston, giving her an excuse to leave her former lover who I speculate to be Calvin Harris. So, for the purpose of this video, I'm using those two as the other characters, but there are many ways this could be interpreted. I don't know what she's actually referring to, this is just my analogy, as she said in the liner notes of her album, and this is what I believe to be the obvious interpretation. Maybe it's not, but I'm going to expand upon that. This is one of the only songs that I believe really has nothing to do with Joe Alwyn, as it appears to detail two failed relationships, neither of which she's still in. It has fast-paced vibes to it, but she quickly reveals why this relationship was destined for failure from the beginning, when she informs you that the story doesn't end well by opening with the line, "Nothing good starts in a getaway car." She then shows a hint of remorse in the first line of the song, saying it was the best of times, the worst of crimes, putting another spin on classic literature. She once again paints herself as a criminal, as the media does, and as she did in Ready for It. This time, she has an accomplice. She talks about striking a match, which implies flying sparks, a theme the old Taylor used very frequently. But this Taylor seems to infer that by striking a match, she was forcing feelings that weren't sincere or being deceptive towards her accomplice. She then continues coloring in the seemingly romantic picture she sketched with the lines, "The ties were black, the lights were white, in shades of gray and candlelight. I wanted to leave him, I needed a reason." She insisted at the time that the lies she was telling Harris were simply white lies. Saw Hiddleston as an opportunity to get out of her crumbling relationship with Harris. Quite literally describes herself running with the opportunity. She then describes that where her and Tom began was the same place they fell apart, because it was destined for failure. She admits to lying to both herself and the lover she's running from. She continues painting the criminal escape scene with the line, "We never had a shotgun shot in the dark." This also comes off as a brilliant portrayal of the kind of story the media would tell about Taylor, writing every intimate detail of her life into a romanticized drama that she is the actress starring in. I particularly like the line in the song, "There were sirens in the beat of your heart," though the second verse is my favorite. She continues to describe the scene as the great escape and the prison break. The prison of the prior relationship also references the cage setting she's used multiple times now. She shares with us her brief moment of joy when the light of freedom was on her face and she could be thankful for nothing besides getting away safely or with little consequences, that is. However, in the very next line, the getaway car crashes when she admits that her accomplice wasn't thinking and she was just drinking. And faced with another moment of panic when she sings, "Well, he was running after us and I was screaming, 'Go, go, go,' but with three of us, honey, it's a sideshow." In Taylor's remarkable writing, I can literally picture lights flashing as she runs and jumps in this metaphorical getaway car. This verse makes your heart race with excitement over what's going to happen, and then comes to a halt once more saying, "And a circus ain't a love story, and now we're both sorry," admitting that her affair was more of a show than a genuine romance, and that they both show remorse for what went down. The entire game is turned around on the driver of the getaway car, Tom Hiddleston, when Taylor pulls the exact same stunt on him. What makes you think Taylor would treat you any differently than she did Calvin Harris? She laughs as she turns in her accomplice, takes the money, and runs. I think this song is a brilliant representation of how she rebounded to Tom Hiddleston, as well as how she has a reputation for breaking hearts to write songs about her exes and make money. The illusion of her dumping someone and running with the fame and the money makes this an irreplaceable track on the album. The breakdown of this song, where she says she was riding, crying, dying, and saying goodbye in a getaway car, shows her suppressed emotions when committing this crime. It isn't on my overall favorites because even though it's brilliant, the album just gets better from here. And however, her ability to so vividly tell this story while never straying from the concept of reputation is more than impressive in my opinion.
And all at once you are the one I have been waiting for, king of my heart, body and soul. Oh,
This one pulls at my heartstrings like no other song. As I said, I've been a fan of Taylor Swift since I was 6 years old. I'm a music lover. Her music means a lot to me. She introduced me to true, genuine songwriting. I've hung on to every word of every song she's put out for the majority of my life. I've followed every painful, heartbreaking story she's told in songs. I've laughed and cried many times over the years with this woman, and this just seems to bring everything full circle. The biggest progression is the fact that she opens this song with the line, "I'm perfectly fine, I live on my own. I made up my mind, I'm better off being alone." Before she even begins to talk about Joe Alwyn, she states that she is indeed satisfied being alone, which is truly the key to being in a healthy relationship. She introduces Alwyn into her life casually by saying he tries on calling her baby like trying on clothes. She then lays down the law by telling Alwyn to salute to her. She demands respect, but she doesn't have to beg for it this time because she already has it. She says, "Salute to me, I'm your American queen, and you move to me like I'm a Motown beat and we rule the kingdom inside my room." She references their physical relationship, saying he, quote, moves to her easily as one would to a Motown beat. Moving to her could also symbolize how easily he gets along with and adjusts to her crazy life. They rule the kingdom inside her room hand in hand. When I first heard the line, "All the boys in their expensive cars with their Range Rovers and their Jaguars never took me quite where you do," all I could think of was Harry Styles. Being a large fan of him myself, I'm very aware of the famous black Range Rover that he drove in the early 2010s, including when he was with Taylor. However, according to Genius.com, Calvin Harris also drives a Rover, so it could be a reference to both or either of them. To no surprise, Tom Hiddleston drives a Jaguar. In this line, Taylor forms the concept that she's unimpressed by boys with money and fancy material things compared to Joe. Calvin is in his 30s and possibly the most successful DJ out there now. Hiddleston certainly has a load of luxury from his extensive film career. Even Harry Styles, though younger than both Joe and Taylor, has a well-established music and now film career and the money to match it. That's my boy! Clearly, Taylor Swift is one of the wealthiest people in the world. But Joe Alwyn is just getting his foot in the door of mainstream success. He has a large repertoire of movies he's starred in or is set to star in, but he's not the household name that Tom Hiddleston, Harry Styles, or Calvin Harris is. But this doesn't matter to Taylor at all, because he's better for her than all of them. Despite her reputation of being money-grubbing and using men for their status, she makes it clear that she'd rather be with someone with a smaller name who makes her happy than anyone else in the world. Joe Alwyn is it. Then the chorus hits, and so do my hurricane of emotions. She lyrically and musically captures how quickly feelings for Joe Alwyn develop. The line, "And all at once you are the one I have been waiting for, king of my heart, body, and soul." People know that Taylor Swift falls easily. She is sure this time, and you better believe it, honey. After her many infamous relationships, all documented in songs and social media, hearing her say that she's found the king of her heart, body, and soul makes me so genuinely happy for her. She then confirms that she's changed what her idea of the finer things are. The bridge is the part that truly is a dagger to the heart, but like, in a good way. The very first time I heard the line, "Is this the end of all the endings?" I sobbed like a baby. She then proclaims that her broken bones are mending, the broken bone of every past heartbreak or betrayal. It's all healing, and she's becoming free to rule her life. She's healing with all the nights she's spending with Alwyn. She shares another time spent with him. The times he's made her happy on this album seem to be endless as she keeps pulling out these beautiful romantic stories. Sings, "Say you fancy me, not fancy stuff." Fancy someone is British terminology for liking or having a crush on them. This line could either mean he likes her instead of fancy things, following along with the luxury theme, or it could mean that he doesn't even have to compliment her in unique ways. He can simply say he fancies her, and that's all she wants. The second interpretation seems to be confirmed by the next line, "Baby, all at once, this is enough." She has rewritten her reputation at the side of the king of her heart, body, and soul. She's perfectly fine being alone. She's a freaking American queen. But she's chosen to share the throne with someone to help her rule the kingdom inside her room. They're the rulers of her life, not the world, and that's all she's ever really wanted. She doesn't need public validation, she doesn't need things, and she doesn't need a luxurious life, because Joe makes her feel more like a queen than she ever has. She finally got it right, and the key was staying out of the public eye. This track has the biggest evolution seen on the album and in Taylor's career.
While we were dancing, dancing with our hands tied, yeah, we were dancing like it was the first time.
Another track that's spilling the beans on how she's secretly been with Joe Alwyn for a year, and she could have kept it that way forever. While this track is probably the biggest filler track on the album, she keeps the themes of the album going steady. She describes secretly falling in love with Joe Alwyn yet again. I have to admit that this theme gets slightly repetitive at this point in the album. Although this is one of my least favorite songs on the album, the line, "My love had been frozen, deep blue, but you painted me golden," is one of my favorites on the album. Catchy pre-chorus reminds me of a classic Speak Now or Red era Taylor song. She shows Alwyn reassuring her that he's going to stay with her. The next verse is more like the new Taylor. She admits that she feared no one in the world could handle the pressure of being with her. She discusses her anxiety levels rising as people begin to speculate that she was seeing Joe. After Joe had already made her so happy, it terrified her when people threatened to expose their relationship because she didn't want to lose what she had already built. She talks about Alwyn loving her through the mess and her conquering her fears despite her trust issues. She then talks about wanting reassurance from Alwyn by saying, "Say that we got it. I'm a mess, but I'm the mess that you wanted. Oh, 'cause it's gravity keeping you with me." The metaphors of a room burning down around them, with them dancing in it, is similar to her ex John Mayer's song Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. Taylor has taken her private time to sort herself out, and now she's happier and more confident and better than ever.
Say my name and everything just stops. I don't want you like a best friend. Only brought this dress so you could take it off. Take it off.
This song embodies the message of the entire album nearly perfectly. She does not miss a single key point displayed on this album. If anyone told me to pick just one song for them to listen to off this project, Dress would be it, without a doubt. This song is more multifaceted than all the diamonds she's bathing in the Look What You Made Me Do video. You could get down to the club in this song, sing it as a passionate ballad to your lover, play it happily at your wedding, or cry to it. And for that reason, it is, in my humble opinion, one of the best things she's ever written, and the best song on this album. And you would never even suspect it. It appears to be one of the most meaningless songs with the least amount of substance on the album, just from the chorus. But this song is Reputation at its core. I've watched critics pass it by so fast, even calling it uncomfortable, as it once again has a more mature context. It begins with another illustration of them having a secret moment in a crowded room. She then says, "There is an indentation in the shape of you. You made your mark on me, a golden tattoo." She proudly proclaims that in a short amount of time, Alwyn has made an impression on her life, but instead of it being a negative impression like past lovers have left, it's something beautiful. It's art. Instead of the harsh marks others may have left on her, whether in a physical or mental context, he left her with a beautiful golden tattoo. She then reminisces to her delicate and gorgeous state of mind, discussing how she felt about Joe before they were officially together with the lines, All of this silence and patience, pining in anticipation, my hands are shaking from holding back from you. Lines undeniably hit home for anyone who has ever had strong feelings for someone they can't be with. She proclaims how deeply she feels about him with the first line. She states that, although he is her best friend, she doesn't want him as just a best friend. He is all of these things to her. She wants him in every way, including having him take her dress off. She knows he is permanent in her life and has made a lasting impression, so she metaphorically tells him to carve his name into her bedpost. Inescapable, I'm not even gonna try, and if we get burned, at least we were electrified. I'm spilling wine in the bathtub, you kiss my face, and we're both drunk. Everyone thinks that they know us, but they know nothing. She tells another endearing story of Alwyn and alcohol, and I can just picture her sitting in the bath with him sitting outside the tub, perhaps on the toilet next to her, and them drunkenly laughing about how no one knows what they're doing in that moment. She then takes it back to the early days of their relationship, what caused her to fall in love with him in the first place, and it's not just lust or loneliness. In 2016, Taylor Swift had bleach blonde hair, which was untraditional from her signature natural blonde locks. This was one of her more questionable fashion choices, and she suggests that may have also represented the struggles she was going through internally. Joe Alwyn also had a buzz cut at the time to go along with the military role he was playing, and I'll just say that he looks better with longer hair. Taylor states that they saw through each other's looks and saw one another for who they really were. Taylor reminisces the getaway car period of her life. She said multiple times that she met Alwyn while still with Hiddleston, who she's calling a rebound in these verses. She refers to the emotional earthquake she went through in 2016 as well. She once again admits to lying, but expressing how he loved her once again through it all. And I woke up just in time, now I wake up by your side, my one and only, my lifeline. My hands shake, I just can't explain this. These lines get to me. She expresses that she woke up from her mistakes, lying, and crisis period just in time to experience this beautiful relationship, from their secret moments to him making his gold mark on her, to her physical attraction to him, to the way he makes her heart race, to their nights of drinking and acting like little kids together, to the press not knowing the real her, to her tumultuous 2016, to him being her one and only. It is all here in the form of this catchy, lighthearted, but meaningful song.
Here's a toast to my real friends. They don't care about that he said, she said. And here's to my baby. He ain't reading what they call me lately. And here's to my mama. Had to listen to all this drama.
But here it is, folks, the Kanye bashing track we were all waiting for, and man is it good. I'm almost ashamed to admit that this is one of my favorite songs on the album. She just pulled it off in the best way. It starts off as a carefree party track, and a good one at that. She refers to the year that she made up with Kanye. In 2015, Taylor presented her friend Kanye West with MTV's Video Vanguard Award at the Video Music Awards. She talks about attending parties that the West and Kardashian families threw. She talks about what a fun, carefree time she had. Then this whole feeling so Gatsby party crashes down when someone who she was giving a second chance rains on her parade. I wonder who that could be. She says she's shaking her head and locking the gates. She knows she should have expected this much from Kanye. She takes on a maternal, authoritative tone as if speaking to a child. She tells this child, "This is why we can't have nice things, darling. Because you break them, I had to take them away." Then revisits the period of time in which she forgave Kanye. Stabbing her in the back while shaking her hand most likely refers to Kanye calling her to request her permission to use her name in Famous, which she said she really appreciated, and then disrespecting her in the song and taking credit for her fame. Then making it seem like it was her fault. If it wasn't obvious enough who she's talking about, in the next verse she proclaims, "Therein lies the issue, friends don't try to trick you, get you on the phone and mind twist you." States that Kanye had the opportunity to stay friends with her, but ruined it, so she's going to stick up for herself and tear the fence back down since he took the first swing at it. She then thanks the people who mean the most to her, proclaiming that she doesn't need fake friends like Kanye when she has these people. She breaks into a joyful fit of laughter as she says, I can't even say it with a straight face, when saying she'll forgive Kanye. She's already tried the whole forgiveness thing in this situation, and that didn't go well, so she's not making the same mistake again. She has her real friends, the love of her life, and her family. This song begins on a fun, positive note, as Kanye's famous also appears to, but things come down quickly, as did her friendship with Kanye, but she's alright with that.
And I know I make the same mistakes every time. Bridges burn, I never learn. At least I did one thing right. I did one thing right. I'm laughing with my love, I'm making forts undercovers, trust him like a brother. Yeah, you know I did one thing right.
This song explores more into her taking a break from the public eye. Taylor has grown up in the 3 years since her last album release. She's been through a lot, but she's come to terms with it after taking a break and finding her true love. It's okay that the crown was taken from her because Queen Taylor and King Joe are still ruling the kingdom inside her room. She then dedicates more loving words to Alwyn and tells people to call her relationship what they want to. She says Alwyn is fit like a daydream instead of being a nightmare dressed like a daydream. The line, loves me like I'm brand new, is an obvious tearjerker considering Taylor's past. She tells the public to call her relationship what they want because she's happy and in love. In the next verse, she explains her emotional process and isolation after the incidents in 2016. Her certainty when she says he built a fire to keep her warm lights a fire in your heart. She gives vivid imagery of her sitting in a cold, dark, sad, boarded up cabin with Alwyn being the only one she let in. She then references the petty drama once again with the lines, all the drama queens taking swings, all the jokers dressing up as kings, they fade to nothing when I look at him. She uses the metaphoric kingdom once again. She references why every other relationship she had failed, but says that she finally did one thing right by being with Alwyn. Joe is the love of her life, her best friend who she can laugh with and she trusts like family. The bridge is perhaps the most telling part of the album. She says, I want to wear his initial on a chain around my neck, not because he owns me, but because he really knows me. He doesn't own her, but she's proud to be with him. Don't be mistaken by her calling Joe Alwyn her jailer in the beginning. She's still the independent woman she always has been. She says, I recall late November, holding my breath. Slowly I said, you don't need to save me, but will you run away with me? Yes. Taylor clarifies the difference between a man being her savior and being her happiness. This is an evolution from the girl who 10 years ago sang, Romeo save me, I've been feeling so alone. She says she's perfectly fine being alone. She doesn't need Joe to save her, but she is her endgame because he really loves her, and he's okay with not owning her. But call it what you want to.
There's glitter on the floor after the party. Girls carrying the shoes down in the lobby. Candle wax and Polaroids on the hardwood floor. You and me forevermore.
And New Year's Day, my friends, is the place where her epic journey of soul-searching, owning up to, and embracing her mistakes, as well as finding the love of her life, comes to an end, but the rest of her story begins. She begins with a softly driven piano ballad detailing the morning after a wild New Year's party. It's the come down, the morning after, and the time when people normally are sad, but yet she finds herself content with her surroundings. She observes what's around her, saying there's glitter on the floor after the party, girls carrying their shoes down in the lobby, candle wax and Polaroids on the hardwood floor, you and me from the night before. Tells listeners who now may say that she's settled with Joe and her life will now be boring, or that there's no way her relationship is as good as she says, don't read the last page, but I stay when you're lost and I'm scared and you're turning away. I want your midnights, but I'll be cleaning up bottles with you on New Year's Day. Tells you not to skip to the last page, even though she's telling you she knows how her story is going to end, because she has to fill in all the in-between and she still wants you to be here for it. She has many more adventures to come, and they will all be enhanced by Alwyn with her side, as he will remain the constant factor from here on out. Don't get her wrong, she wants all of the fun, exciting party moments with Joe, as she's made clear multiple times, but she's just as happy cleaning up the after party with him. The thrill doesn't fade the next morning. In the second verse, she tells Alwyn, I'll be there if you're the toast of the town, babe, or if you're striking out and you're crawling home. She then turns this whole story around, telling Alwyn she'll always love him just as much, no matter his reputation, just as he did for her. Second verse, she changes "you and me from the night before" to "you and me forevermore." There's something chilling but heartwarming all at once about the way she delivers the line. The heart-wrenching line, "hold on to the memories, they will hold on to you," sends chills down my spine every single time I hear it. It brings this masterpiece to a conclusion perfectly in just a few words without forcing you how to feel about it. No one can be forgiven until you forgive their past. If you always hold on to the mistakes she made, you'll always see the new Taylor. But now it's up to you to see who you see when you see her. She also implies that she has forgiven herself and no longer holds on to the memories of her past mistakes and heartbreaks. She closes by asking Joe Alwyn to please don't ever become a stranger whose laugh she could recognize anywhere. He's more special than anyone else she's ever been with, and she doesn't want to ever lose him. New Year's Day is also the perfect illustration of the calmer day after the crazy New Year's Eve. The excitement of the holidays are gone, but you're still surrounded with love and warmth. It's a time when people make resolutions and try to improve themselves. She closes this new album and opens this new era with a clean slate, stating that she wants all of Alwyn's excitement and success, but she loves him just as much when she fails, and that he's the only one she'll ever want to be with at the end of the day. She says not to read the last page because there is still good times to come. She hasn't settled for a boring life because her life will always be vivid and beautiful, even in the boring times, with the king of her heart, body, and soul by her side. This song is the sweet last chapter of this record, but it is truly the first page of the new story. A perfect ending to this album and a beginning to this Taylor. I personally believe that Reputation is a modern classic. She uses influences of several modern styles without selling out her writing or musical abilities. There's not a single meaningless song on the album. She has this beautiful gift of being able to tell a fluorescent, vivid, captivating story in simple words. You can see it play out perfectly and feel what she's feeling, all while singing lines that roll off the tongue like any other catchy song. It almost has the same relatable quality and theme of Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, an album that came out exactly 40 years prior to Reputation, but is still highly relatable today, because people never stop talking. Comparing this to Rumors is also a huge compliment. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac is my favorite album of all time. Crazy to think that in 40 more years, my kids and my grandkids may be listening to Reputation and thinking that's old school like I do when I listen to Rumors now. And that, my friends, is why that it's important. What does it matter, you may ask? She's gotten her life together. Woo. Here's why it matters. When I was 6 years old, I loved Taylor Swift. Today, I am 17 years old, and I love Taylor Swift. When I was a child, I looked up to her. I thought she was the coolest. And I still do. But this is not even about me. This is the next generation. The likability and relatability of Taylor Swift has gone nowhere a decade later. More popular and relevant now than ever. My little sister is 9 years old. She loves Taylor. Her and her friends go around school singing covers of songs off of 1989 and Reputation. My best friend's niece is 5 years old, and she loves Look What You Made Me Do, and refers to Taylor as the queen after seeing the Look What You Made Me Do video. When I was that age, kids referred to her as the princess in the Love Story video. My friend's daughter, who I babysit, is 7 years old. Look What You Made Me Do is her favorite song. Every time she sees me, she asks me to play Taylor Swift music on my phone. These little kids weren't even born or aren't even old enough to remember the Taylor Swift and Kanye West VMA drama. They probably could not even tell me who Joe Jonas or Taylor Lautner even are. Yet they look up to her just like I did when I was that age. Whether you like her or not, Taylor's voice matters to a lot of people. Taylor has been one of my main role models for my entire life and still is, and I have no shame in saying that. Do I want my little sister to have a role model who won't let men degrade her, who doesn't need a man to save her, but loves freely after being broken many times? Should the woman of the future be singing songs about if you hold on to your mistakes, they'll hold on to you? I think so. As I said, New Year's Day is the first page in Taylor's new chapter, and that will be the page that these girls, as well as so many other people, will start reading on. And that is why music matters, and that is why this matters to me. There will be no further explanation. There will just be reputation.